Hi everyone and welcome to Homemaking with Joy. My name is Rachel. My kids are currently sleeping, so I am going to make tomorrow morning's breakfast and tonight's dinner. It will be sourdough cinnamon rolls and sweet and tangy meatballs with rice. Let's get started. The sourdough cinnamon roll recipe that I'm using comes from Lisa at Farmhouse on Boone, and the dinner recipe comes from Six Sisters Stuff. So I will link those below so you can find the recipes and make them for yourself. I am starting by making the cinnamon rolls. I'm making two-ish small adaptations to Lisa's recipe. I am using freshly milled flour instead of all-purpose flour, but you can certainly do that. I'm also going to make them, so I just pop them in the oven in the morning. Lisa's original recipe, because this is sourdough, you have to plan it out a little bit. Her recipe has you make the dough in the evening, let it bulk rise overnight, and then you shape the rolls and bake them in the morning. My mornings are just too busy with two little people in my house, so I'm going to make the dough during nap time, let it rise until after bedtime. That's when I'll shape the rolls, and then I will put the completed rolls in the fridge, pull them out in the morning to let them come to room temperature a bit, and then stick them in the oven because that's much simpler for my life. So to get started with the recipe, we have to combine sourdough starter, flour, honey, water, and coconut oil. I need to make my flour. I have my hard white wheat here. I'm going to put it in my muck mill, grain mill. I will show you how that works, and then we will combine these ingredients in my mixer and move on to the next thing. I'm going to measure out my wheat berries so I can just put them right in the mill. For me, 1 cup of flour equals half a cup plus 1 tablespoon of wheat berries. So I'm going to put all of that in this bowl and then just dump this in the mill. Four of these. And 4 of these. For any of you new to freshly milled flour, if you're looking into this, that conversion was one of my favorite things when I started. I saw so many recipes that said 4 cups of flour, freshly milled flour. And I didn't want to mill too much or mill too little and then have to measure it afterward, and then what do you do with the rest of the flour? Because ideally you mill it fresh every time. So then I would have to store it or something. I don't know. So now I know half cup plus 1 tablespoon equals 1 cup of flour. So I just measure it beforehand, and then I don't have to fuss with the flour once it comes out of the mill. Here is my lovely muck mill, my wheat berries, everything's set up. There's an on switch here. Turned on, take the lid off, and then dump these in the top. Just finished. This is my flour. It is fine and warm and packed full of nutrients, ready to make some really delicious rolls. I have my melted coconut oil here. I wanted to show you a trick. I have my honey. I'm going to pour it in the top with the coconut oil so it all slides out really easily. I need half a cup of oil and half a cup of honey. So right about there. And then I can add it to my mixer, in which I've already put my half a cup of water. The last 2 ingredients to combine are my flour and my starter. This recipe calls for active starter. I fed this recently. You can see all the bubbles. It will definitely rise my rolls. Also, I wanted to note these are 3 loaves of bread that I made this morning that are rising and will be ready to bake soon. So let's combine all the ingredients in my mixer, and then I will show you what our shaggy dough looks like. All of the ingredients are in my mixer, and I get questions about this. This is a Bosch mixer, but any stand mixer will do. This is just a powerhouse of a mixer because I make so many bread products. It has a large capacity and a very strong motor. So let's get my cover on so I don't have flour going everywhere, and mix it up. I turned on my mixer for about a minute, and this is what I got. The goal is not to knead this into dough at the moment, but to introduce all of the ingredients to one another so the sourdough can rise everything, ferment everything, and be ready for this evening. So I will make this into one ball and put my lid back on top and let it ferment until after bedtime, when we will come back, add the rest of the ingredients, and make the rolls. There you have it, my little ball of dough. I'm going to add my lid, maybe, there you go, and let that sit until tonight. Let's get started on dinner. The goal for tonight's dinner is to be quick, easy, and hands-off, and this is one of my favorite meals for that, because basically I have 2 machines cook my food for me. I'm going to start with the sweet and tangy meatballs. I cook these in my Instant Pot. So it's 2 pounds of frozen meatballs, a jar of grape jelly, and a jar of chili sauce. I've also seen some people do this with cranberry sauce, but this is the combination I like. Put all those together in the Instant Pot and cook them for like 7 minutes, and then they're done. I usually pair it with rice, so I will get my rice cooker, put some brown rice in there, and have it prepped and ready so I can just push a button later. Again, this is when my kids are sleeping, so if I can assemble everything and then just push buttons later, that is ideal. And then to go with it, I will just grab a frozen veggie or one that I've canned in my pantry. If the kids need more, I can grab some fruit. I have fresh fruit or canned fruit, things like that. And that's the meal. My husband will be leaving shortly after dinner for some church obligations, and so I need something fast and simple, and I need to make sure I can get it done on time so he can leave on time. My kids love these meatballs, and it's a win-win. Often I don't use jarred things like this in my cooking, but sometimes you need these convenience items. Most of the time we cook from scratch, eat that way, lots of veggies, all that good stuff. But tonight it is survival time with toddlers and solo mom time. So let's do it. I measured out 2 pounds of frozen meatballs. These are just bulk meatballs I get from our local bulk grocery store. I'm just going to dump these in with the help of a spoon. Don't forget to wash and save these jars, because when you become obsessed with sourdough like me, these are perfect for sharing your sourdough starter with your friends. In order to get all the sauce out and get some water in my recipe, I just put about this much water in here. I'll shake it up to get everything out. And that is dinner. I mixed it up a little bit, but honestly it doesn't matter that much because it's just gonna sit together and then cook together. So I'm not actually gonna cook this right now. I'm going to use a lid. Fun fact, the Norwex silicone lids fit perfectly on the standard Instant Pot. Also tip, if you use your Instant Pot as much as I do, get yourself 2 stainless steel liners. I have 2 of them, so I can keep one in the fridge, use this one, or swap things out as soon as they're done. It's super duper convenient. So this is ready to go in the fridge. I will sit it there, pull it out at dinner time, just sit it in my Instant Pot, push the button, and have dinner cooked. I just double checked the cinnamon roll recipe, and I need ½ cup of softened butter for the part that comes later. So if you're doing this along with me, get your butter out of the fridge now. So that will go in here later, and while we're at it, I'm gonna bake these loaves of bread because they need done. So I'll show you that too. I almost forgot about the rice for dinner. That would have been frustrating. Got my rice cooker out. Here is the liner that goes in my rice cooker. So I'm going to grab my rice and fill it up. It is right down here on the floor. I keep my bulk dried goods in these big 5-gallon buckets with gamma lids. This is brown rice. I think we're gonna cook, I don't know, 3 cups, 4 cups, 2, 3, maybe 4. That's it. That'll go back to the basement. This, I will just leave it like this. I will rinse it and add the water closer to dinner time, but for now, that is done. My oven is preheated to 400 degrees. So let's take this off. I can never, ever, ever get 3 of the same size loaves. I don't bother measuring. I just eyeball it, but oh well. Can we see the bubbles on the side? Yay, sourdough bubbles. Some people add melted butter on top here. I generally don't because I don't want to pop any of those bubbles. So I'm just going to take these and put them in my oven. See you in 30 minutes. And now it's time for me to relax for a couple of minutes before my kids wake up or the bread is done, whichever comes first. I didn't eat enough lunch today, so I'm gonna have a snack, sit down, do some reading, and compose myself before the fun starts all over again. That is some nice looking bread. Let's take it out. I'm quickly going to top these with some butter so it melts and makes a nice soft crust. My little guy just woke up from his nap, so I'm going to go help him. If you're looking for this bread recipe, I will link it below as well so you can make some at your house too, because my house smells so good right now and I can't wait to eat some. My rice has been washed. The water is in there, so we are going to start cooking. Done. Very grateful I prepped this earlier. Just take the lid off. Put this in my Instant Pot. Grab my lid. Oh, the sealing ring is not on correctly. There we go. Turn the knob to sealing. Pressure cook or manual, depending on your Instant Pot, for 7 minutes. That's it. We ate dinner and enjoyed it very much. The kids played and now are in bed. I'm ready to finish these cinnamon rolls so I can go to bed and then eat them in the morning. I recently read someone call them a labor of love, and they kind of are, but they're going to be really delicious. So this is what my dough looks like. About 8 hours. It's still doesn't quite look like a dough. It's lumpy and such, but we are going to mix it now with a couple more ingredients and make it stretchy like you would expect the dough to be. So let's get those ingredients. The most challenging part of this recipe is now combining these ingredients. You'll see the 2 eggs back there. This can get a little bit messy as the eggs get mixed into this dough, but don't give up, just keep going. It has been a full 5 minutes that my dough has been going in the mixer at a medium to high speed. And when you first add the ingredients, it looks like there are just eggs everywhere, just eggs, but you keep going. And then it looks really, really wet. And then you just keep going. And then it becomes this really nice dough. Really soft, not sticking to my fingers. Stretchy and ready to roll out and fill with the yummy goodness inside. Before I roll out the dough, I'm going to make the filling. So I have my softened butter from earlier, a cup of brown sugar, and some cinnamon that I'm going to combine in here. I'll roll out the dough, fill it with this, roll it up, put it in a pan, and when you say it like that, it sounds quick and easy, but I'll be here for a couple minutes. This is what the filling looks like when it's finished. It's a paste. You combine the seasonings and the butter, so then you'll just spread this paste over the dough when it's ready. Let's get that out next. This is what my dough looks like. It's nice and stretchy and soft, easy to work with, doesn't stick too much. So it's time to roll it out with a rolling pin into a nice big rectangle and then get the filling inside. Here's my big sheet of dough ready for the filling. The filling is in. It was a little bit stiff. I don't know if my butter wasn't quite soft enough or if it's just difficult because it's a thick paste, but I actually used my hands to spread a lot of it. The warmth of my hands melted the butter just enough more that it was easy to spread. And I was also able to really feel how much pressure I was putting on the dough to make sure I didn't rip it or anything. I couldn't film that part because my hands were covered in butter filling. But it worked really nicely. We have a nice layer over the whole thing. It's time to roll it up and actually make it into a cinnamon roll. I don't have a bench scraper, but I do have one of these that I'm going to use to pull up my dough. I chose not to put flour under it because I didn't want any of that unfermented flour in my roll. And so now I will just very carefully peel it off my countertop. My cinnamon roll is complete. This is the seam where I just connected the other end. Now they are ready to slice. My favorite way to do that is with dental floss. It makes a nice clean cut and I don't have to put my knife on my bench. Also, knives can squish them, and this way you just slide it under. I'll probably do about 2 inches and then just twist it that way. And it makes a nice clean cut. Just like that. I'm going to put it in a 9x13 baking dish. And they'll sit like that overnight. Do another one. Slide it under, find your spot, cross it over and pull. One thing I like about this recipe, looking at this inside, oftentimes you add the butter and then just sprinkle the cinnamon and brown sugar, and whenever you cut them, it all like crumbles out. Because this is a paste, it stays in there really nicely. And voila. I'm done dividing my cinnamon rolls. I ended up with 17, which is kind of a weird number, but that's what I have here. I'm going to put lids on these and put them in the fridge. I will pull them out in the morning and bake them. I'm really excited. See you then. Good morning. I have my cinnamon rolls sitting out. They've been here for about 45 minutes. They haven't risen or anything, but I wanted to make sure the pans were not too cold and they would get shocked when they went in the oven. So my oven is now preheated to 375. I believe they're to bake for about 20 minutes. So I'm going to pop those in and hopefully we will have some delicious breakfast in 20 minutes. Mama. Yes, buddy. Some people would choose to make an icing here. I believe the original recipe has a cream cheese frosting. I'm just going to do the cinnamon rolls, Mama, and I think they will be delicious without it. You want to see them in the oven? Yeah. Okay, I'll turn the light on. Here they are out of the oven. This pan looks a little rough because it didn't have other cinnamon rolls to push up against over here, but they'll taste delicious nonetheless. These are looking nice. And I'm very much looking forward to eating them. As my kids and I have started eating these, I have noticed these are a bit thinner. I was experimenting a little bit with the thickness. And then like this one is much thicker. The thinner ones are a little bit dry. So next time I will err on the side of thicker slices. A couple more thoughts that I wanted to share, obviously my kids are enjoying them, is about this recipe and baking at home in general, is you can control the ingredients. So like these are sweet, but they're not overly sweet, like commercial bakery sweet that just like are overwhelmingly sugary. They're sweet, but they have a great balance of flavors too. They're made with sourdough, so all of the flour is fermented and much easier for our guts to digest. And because I use freshly milled flour, it's full of nutrients that are now open and available for our bodies to consume. Also, freshly milled flour has a very high fiber content, and so you can actually get a full tummy from eating these cinnamon rolls, which is a win all around. They're delicious, they fill you up, and they have some nutrition for you and your family. My kids love them. I love them. This is, I don't know, at least my second one. And I will definitely be making these again. They would be good with frosting, but they're also fine just like this. So I hope you enjoy, and let me know when you make them.